I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and today's topic is the gift of inspiration that we all have available to us if we're willing to listen and just pay attention. And when we flow with inspiration, life life becomes so much more magical and rewarding. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And before we get started, let's just take a couple minutes to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present, right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. It's so good to be with you this morning. And today we're talking about the gift of inspiration. And there are inspired moments where we can receive guidance, communication, support from an I'm going to say from another dimension, but it isn't really. It's just listening, being willing to listen and to take action, to pay attention, because we get these feelings, we get these inklings, we get moments where we have an impulse that arises out of nowhere that calls us into some kind of action. And if we pay attention, there are so many gifts in that. And we sometimes feel that we need to be controlling life, that we need to grab the reins and try and engineer the outcomes that we determine are the best, that the outcomes that we need. And so if we just put our nose to the grindstone and work and put in the effort and put in the time and put in the energy, then we'll get the result. And I'm not saying that results don't require time and energy and tension. However, when you're out of alignment, I don't think that any amount of time and energy is going to create the result. In fact, I've seen this happen with myself and so many other people, where there's this determination and urgency and pushing to get a result, and even sometimes it's a desperation when we're in, and this is an irony that or a paradox that's maddening. When we're most needy of something, when we're most desperate, is when we are energetically tend to be pushing whatever it is we're chasing further away from us, because of that neediness. That desperation is actually a resistance. It's affirming the lack of whatever it is we're trying to receive. And so it's actually pushing that thing away. And when we let go the reins and take a deep breath and allow ourselves to find a place of trust, which is not at all easy in the moments when we're feeling needy and desperate and fearful. But when we allow that for ourselves, life unfolds in a very different way. Good morning, Shosha 13. Welcome, welcome. So good to have you joining us this morning. So we're talking about the gift of inspiration and really trust also, like being willing to trust that things are unfolding in ways part of a larger picture that we just don't perceive. Anyway, this is coming from two places, two things that occurred yesterday. Last night, or yesterday afternoon, I just had a thought about somebody that I hadn't even had on my mind for a while. And this was somebody that there's lots of potential for collaboration with. And just out of the blue, I had this moment's inspiration to reach out to this person. And I texted them, and we haven't been in touch for a while. And the last communication just sort of fell off the cliff somewhere. And so I just followed this inspiration. And this morning I received a response and an interest in continuing with the collaboration. And so this could be a potentially very big thing. And it came out of nowhere. And I think that when we have an openness, when we let go the reins, there's an opportunity for flow and inspiration that we kind of block out when we're trying to maneuver and manage and control. And so there's a balance, it's a dance that we can do. I guess that we're called to do a dance that allows us to be in our beingness. So the other part of this conversation was with somebody last night who has been working really hard on a project for 7 years and is exhausted and burnt out and frustrated, and just came to the point where they said, "That's it, I'm done." And there was a liberation in that, because then this person could allow themselves to, instead of pushing and striving and and trying to gain a foothold, clawing a foothold, they were able to just let go and start feeling into what is going to feed them, what is inspired. And when they were able to shift their attention to this place of inspiration, the energy was completely different. There was an opening. Whereas with this other constraint, this other um, project that they were so invested in, that it was oppressive. And the contrast of being able to receive the inspiration, to presence themselves to the inspiration versus trying to make something happen against all resistance through the mere force of our will. It's a radical contrast. And the experience of life in those two different places is radically different. Just because we think something that this is the right thing at the right time doesn't necessarily make it the right thing at the right time. I have spent lots of time in my life pushing the river. And I can tell you, and I'm sure you know from your own experience, how exhausting that can be. How exhausting and debilitating, actually, it can be to be fighting the river. The river is going to run the way it runs. And when we have these moments of inspiration that I think are available to us as we let go the reins, then life flows. And part of this is cultivating a trust for that unfolding, which isn't, especially when we're in a space of fear, not so easy to do, right? Because it means we have all these reasons for fear. We have all kinds of evidence. We have all kinds of justifications that validate our fear. And so it's kind of a vortex of lack and scarcity and limitation that's really easy to get sucked into. And it doesn't make sense. It's funny, I was going to title one of these morning talks, Stop Making Sense. It doesn't make sense to, in the face of fear, to be, I mean, in the face of not having resources, not having money, not, being up against incredible challenges, it doesn't make sense to trust necessarily. And yet that leap of faith of trust and listening, not taking action, but trust and listening, coming from that space rather than a space of fear, is transformative. And I know it doesn't make sense. When things are just falling apart around us, to trust that it's okay, that life is actually happening for us and through us rather than to us, to step into that place of trust creates a profound shift. It's kind of like giving over to something bigger, like the intelligence of life, the intelligence of our being, that is greater than our conscious awareness. And so what we're really talking about here is that the being piece is more important than the doing piece. And when the doing comes from a balanced being, it is exponentially more impactful versus, being frightened or being determined no matter what, and not paying attention to the resistance, to find this place of flow is life-changing, literally life-changing. It changes the way we experience life. And when we change the way we experience life, life changes. Opportunities arise. When we find this place of, I know it sounds paradoxical, but find this place of ease in the midst of turmoil, in the midst of what looks like desperate circumstance. Because whether or not and this is where it does make sense, whether or not those circumstances change, how we live in them, how we be in those circumstances is what dictates our experience. So we can take things in stride, and sometimes we trip and fall, and that's okay. We can just get up, brush ourselves off, and get back in step. But the way that we be, like allowing life to unfold, allows us to thrive in ways that we certainly can't when we're tense, when we're constricted, when we're rigid, when we're fearful. And I understand that lots of folks use fear as a motivator, as a way to power themselves through situations, like to get to incentivized to take action. And that's one way to take action. But I can say from personal experience that inspired action is exponentially more powerful. That when I'm in a space of being present, being at ease, not always easy, simple, but not always easy. Good morning, Rosalind, welcome. It's great to have you joining us. We're talking about the gift of inspiration and how when we allow ourselves to be in a space of ease and a trust that life is unfolding for our benefit, even when it doesn't look like it, that the being we bring to even fraught circumstances is transformative, that when we can allow ourselves to be in that space, that life is happening for us and through us and not to us, that space of trust, we can be able to receive the gifts of inspiration much more readily. And there's a richness to it, there's a magic to it that allows us to, like, just let's say you're in the midst of something and you have this weird impulse to get in touch with somebody or to go to Starbucks, for example. And maybe you don't normally go to Starbucks, but that just shows up as something that's important all of a sudden to do, kind of out of the blue. It gets your notice. And then you go to Starbucks and all of a sudden you bump into somebody that provides an open door to something you had been dreaming of. I mean, these things happen when we allow ourselves to maybe to be receiving the messages, and we can receive the messages more readily when there's not a lot of static on the line, and the static being fear, anxiety, overwhelm, all the things we have to do, and letting go of that, letting go of all the angst and the fear-driven control, because we're not really in control. I mean, yes, we can discipline ourselves to take certain actions, and it's not that those actions aren't important, they are, but action isn't the all of it. We think it is, but it's what we bring to the action, who we're being, that has such a profound impact. And I guess the message is to be aware of our being, to give ourselves the grace of presence. Yeah, to recognize that we can allow ourselves to be enjoying life as it's occurring in each moment, and not feel like we have to wait until something happens before we can enjoy and appreciate life. And as we allow for more of that, what we're doing is we're opening the channels to be able to receive inspiration, to be able to receive the messages that are there. It's kind of plugging into the network, so to speak. And I know there's a trap here, is to say, okay, I'm being now where's the inspiration? Right? I'm relaxing, I'm being open, and now where's the inspiration? And trying to create a state of being in order to get something, like doing the being is kind of funny, right? But that's what we're inclined to do. I want more inspiration, so I'm just gonna buckle down and be. And unfortunately, I don't think it works that way. I think we get to settle into wonder and awe and stop trying to push the river. Just when we can allow the flow, we're guided. we're guided into right action. And the other piece of this is that when we get the inspiration to act upon it, to pay attention, to listen, to be able to receive the gift of it. So I think that that's actually it for today, is to be able to receive. We just can like let go the reins, hold life with the open hand. So this is interesting too. I was talking to somebody who was talking about being tight-fisted, and they thought that that was being responsible with money, for example. And what we were talking about is being able to hold that money with open hand doesn't mean that you're being irresponsible, but when your hands are open, there's room for receiving. So that's what we'll end up with for today, is holding life with open hand and being willing to listen and receive. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to have this time with you and to share these musings on what it is to be human. So until next time, so much love to you.